Hello, everybody. It's Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming here with another video for Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. We are not that far away from the announcement of the next expansion, and you know I'm excited. Really excited. One of the things I'm particularly excited about, actually, is what new jobs we're going to get. You know, changes up the gameplay and all that good stuff. I'm always a big fan of that. I'm really interested this time around as to what's coming in, because it's kind of up in the air. We don't really have an idea outside of probably a healer. Like, I think healer is a very safe bet, because we haven't actually gotten a new one since Astrologian and Heavensward. So I think it is a pretty safe bet to go off of the idea that we'll get a new healer. I also have a feeling we're going to get, if they're going to continue the pattern of Stormblood and Shadowbringers, we'll get another job as well. I can't decide if I think that's going to be DPS or tank. So, let's table that part of the discussion for a minute. And let's just focus on what we think the new healer is going to be. Because I think this is probably I think this is going to be a really interesting pick as to what they're going to choose. I think the most likely answer is Chemist, or something along those lines. You know, a non-magically inherently based job. Something like Chemist where you're making potions. If you've ever played Octopath Traveler, I still need to finish that game, by the way. But if you ever played that game, there's a chemist class in that game. There's a character that is a chemist. And it's pretty cool in that it acts by combining different ingredients to create different effects. So what I'm thinking is, if they do go along with the idea of a chemist, maybe the idea is we get healer Boudras or something. I think that could be pretty cool. And like, you get a couple of actions that, when combined in different ways, produce different effects. I think that could be really cool, and a really nice way to differentiate from the other three healers. Because White Mage is your regen-based healer, Astrologian's your hybrid, and Skull is technically your shield-based healer. So having something that's like a healer Mudra could be like a nice differentiation for the gameplay. I'd be in favor of that. Though I'm sure they have something in their minds. The other idea for a healer I think they could go off with is a Geomancer. I know a lot of people are just saying Geomancer is just an Astrologian from the Far East. But if you've played the Astrologian job quests, particularly in Stormblood, there is a Geomancer character in that job quest, which is why a lot of people make the comparison between Astrologian and Geomancer, because they make comparisons in those quests. But to me, Geomancer sounds kind of like how Conjurer is. Not White Mage, Conjurer. In that it doesn't necessarily rely on holy magics or light-based magics necessarily. But that it uses more nature themes, and like water, wind, and Earth. I think what with White Mage starting to go in the direction of being completely light-based and holy themed, especially since Stone got replaced with Glare, etc., etc. I think if they introduce a new healer like Geomancer that kind of leans into those old themes of Conjurer and White Mage, I think they could make a pretty interesting niche there. I don't know, because they might be afraid of making Geomancer just kind of too samey with White Mage in that regard. So I'm not entirely sure, like, what they would do with Geomancer. But I think it'd be pretty interesting to see nonetheless. Is there any other healer I think is kind of possible? Kyurgin, maybe. I'm really skeptical about Kyurgin, because I feel like they might just, like, roll it in with Chemist, if they did Chemist. I just feel like creatively, they have more leeway with Chemist than just Kyurgeon or something like that. The other possibility is that they just introduce an entirely new job in its entirety with 6.0 in its story that we're just not anticipating, so you can't really predict that. I guess that is possible. They could do something dragon-based, maybe. I don't know. Because we have like a dragon melee job and Bahamut with summoner. Maybe like something dragon-based with healer. I don't know, though. So, I think Chemist is probably the most likely healer to get. We'll probably get. I think that's the play. I just feel like aesthetically and mechanically, they can just make it different enough from the other healers to garner a lot of excitement for it. Also, like, we'll probably get some pretty neat glamours for it as well. So, I'm on board with the Chemist hype train. So, choo choo. Now, the other job I'm thinking of. I know we just got a new tank with Gunbreaker. I'm not sold on the idea that they won't give us the 5th tank. Like, I'm not sold on the idea that they won't do that. I think it's entirely possible we just get another... We just get a 5th tank. I don't know what it would be, though. My only argument for that is... You have to combine the tank and the healer tabs to make 2/3 of the DPS tabs. That's my only thing. And I kind of got an inkling we'll get Beastmaster as well, which will probably be like physical range or something like that. And they might just count that as a DPS job for them, even if it's a limited job. I'm kind of leaning towards the idea that we'll get a healer and a new tank. Though DPS is wildly popular, so they might go along with DPS. If they do that, I can see them adding a magical range, because Blue Mage is limited, so. The only non-limited magic DPS job we've gotten since A Realm Reborn has been Red Mage. And so I think they could do Necromancer. I think there's a lot of possibilities with Necromancer if they do that. I'm not sure how they'll justify lore-wise, but they could always come up with something. They could also do... It depends upon, like, where the location of the next expansion is, right? Like, I wish you could actually see, like, a world map for Hydaelyn. But up here, on, like, the actual world map they have of Hydaelyn, there's, like, Viking ships and things like that, and, like, a giant open sea. So if the expansion is located up here, and we go to, like, Charlie and that kind of stuff, maybe Golemald over here, I think, like, a Berserker-type job, like the final boss of Hero's Gauntlet, could be coming, like a Viking-based job or something like that, and make it, and to differentiate from Warrior, make it like a melee DPS. I think they could do that, because it's also an aesthetic we don't have with the DPS, like a Viking-based job, because we have that with Warrior, like I said, but we don't have it for DPS. The only other thing is, they really have been liking trying to incorporate other jobs from previous Final Fantasy games into this, and the one main one we still don't have is Rune Knight. Especially because it's going to be 6.0, and so far they've been a lot... Like I said in a video, I'll probably link in the description down below if you remember to do that, when I was making my predictions about the location and setting of 6.0. They're making a lot of Final Fantasy VI comparisons, and we don't have a Rune Knight. So if we get a new tank, I think Rune Knight is probably the most likely pick for that. It's a simple enough concept that they could differentiate from Paladin enough, I think, in order to do something with Rune Knight. Maybe make it... I don't exactly entirely know what they would do. Maybe try and make it a more reactionary tank. Or not reactionary, but like preemptive tank. where while Paladin like blocks attacks, Rune Knight will mitigate it to do offensive capabilities or something like that. I don't know. Just go play Final Fantasy VI and play the Rune Knight and you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm not entirely sold on that idea. Because in their minds, they might say, well, we kind of have Paladin. And if you do what I do and have the Emperor's New Shield, it's kind of a similar aesthetic to Rune Knight. In a lot of ways, it's just called Paladin. So that's like my one main concern if they want to do Rune Knight is just making it feel and look different enough from regular Paladin. They could do it. But I don't know. I'd be hyper about it because I forgot the name of the character, but she was one of my favorites from Final Fantasy VI. So being able to have a Rune Knight in this game would be really nice. Or they could just do Rune Fencer and make it a melee DPS. They could do that as well. It's like up in the air. But yeah, I want to make a pretty short video because I'm now getting kind of hyped for the announcement. I'm interested to see what they'll get and what they'll show off. It's going to be a long day. Going to have a lot of coverage on the channel for it as well. So stay tuned for that. Of course, it's at freaking nighttime. So that's going to be something. Bye. Okay, so. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe if you like the video and you want to see more content. I know I would appreciate it. Where's my miner? So, stay safe out there. Have a great day. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.